Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Alex Curry here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys.
Welcome back, Alex.
Welcome back, Alex.
You know, for once, Shannon Sharp isn't going to be the biggest star on today's show because we got Magic Johnson coming on. I mean, biggest star in your own mind. I mean,
you're a hater. You wake up early in the morning, hater.
You are in the Hall of Fame, but Magic is magic.
Magic is magic.
He is the one and only, and he will be sitting right there.
You go by one name, you're pretty big.
He's pretty big.
Yeah.
And by the way, we also have my man Orlando Scandrick coming in to talk maybe about what he saw inside the Eagles and from my Cowboys last Sunday night. That'll be pretty interesting also.
You good this morning?
Oh, yeah.
I'm real good this morning.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here
I guess you can't lose this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I won last weekend, didn't I?
About time. Been a month.
Well, as Skip mentioned, we have an exciting show. Magic is going to be live in studio. Also, is Kawhi really a better all-around player than LeBron? And how much of an impact will Super Bowl champ have in joining the Cowboys? But first, we'll start with James Harden and Russell Westbrook's season debut last night. Now, the Rockets led by 16 at halftime against Giannis and the Bucks. Giannis actually fouled out with over 5 minutes left to go in the game, but it was poor shooting by Houston that ultimately did them in. James Harden and Russell Westbrook combined to go 9 for 30 from the floor. Harden did not make a single field goal in the second half and put the blame for the loss on his shoulders after the game. So, Shannon, from what you saw last night, will the Harden-Westbrook duo work?
Skip, I just don't see it working. And I saw nothing last night that would convince me that it's going to work. Now, Skip, I do believe in the short term because they're so talented. This is a talented ball club. It will work short term. But long term, I just don't see it having the success that ultimately why Daryl Morey got rid of Chris Paul and brought in Russell Westbrook. You know, Skip, and I get it. They're very, very good friends. But I'm going to go back to a situation, and you know both of these guys. My former coach in Baltimore was Brian Billick. He hired his best friend to be offensive coordinator in Jim Fossil. And I'm going to say this. They're not best friends anymore. I'm going to leave it at that, Skip, and then I'm going to come back to this subject.
All right,
you
that's
see,
fair.
In order for these two guys to be successful, they both need the ball.
And by the way, they were best friends when they were 10 years old. But go ahead.
Who, Brian and...
No, these two.
Yes,
From Southern California.
From Southern California.
Yeah.
But Coach Billick and Jim Fossil go back. They went back like 30 years.
No, I got it.
In order for these guys to be successful, so you can get the best out of James Harden, you can get the best out of Russ, they need the ball. And when both of these guys on the floor, only one guy can have the ball. If you go back over the last 5 years, they're 1-2 in usage. Russ had the record in usage, and then James Harden came along last year and broke it. And there's going to come a time, and I get it, last night James Harden didn't have it going. Considering what he had done in the preseason, I just knew. I said, he's opening up with 45, 50 points.
I would agree with that. Remember, his last two preseason games were 40 against San Antonio and 44 against Miami, albeit in preseason.
Right.
Go ahead.
And then he had a 30 and a 37 in there.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, James Harden, he's looking to average 40 points. He's going to open up with a big night. And he just didn't have it going. He could not get it going. But there's going to come a time late in the ball game that I believe that Russ was jacking up the three. Then he hit a few last night, Skip. I'm looking at it. He didn't play, he didn't shoot the ball 3 of 7 from the three.
Not bad for him.
Not bad. That free throw is still a little bugaboo for him, though. 7 of 17. There's going to come a time late in the ball game that they're going to be close in the ball game, maybe down by, 3 points, 4 points, and Russ is going to get, 3-point happy. And then what James Harden is going to be, looking at him at the side of his eye. I just don't see it working long term because, Skip, I believe for these guys to be at their apex, Russ averaged a triple-double for the last 3 years. And what did he mainly have in his hand? The basketball. You look at James Harden had averaged 36 points last year. What did he have mainly in his hand? The basketball. You got two guys that are ball dominant. There's only one basketball. I just don't see these other guys, the guy playing well without the ball. These guys were, I think, last and next to last as far as diving to the basket. Without the basketball. They normally wait for other guys to dive to the basket so they can hit them. That's not their game. And so you're going to ask these guys to do something they don't normally do. Skip, short term, I think they're going to win a few games. But long term, I just don't see how it works.
So they're going to win a few and then they're going to miss the playoffs?
Nah. Skip, the West is loaded. Are they going to make the playoffs? But I think it's going to ultimately end, and we'll look back and like, see. Because remember, Skip, we question, you and I question, and Chris Paul is a totally different type point guard than Russell Westbrook. He is a true point guard. He's not masquerading as a two, playing the point. He's an old school Magic Johnson, John Stockton type point guard. He's looking to facilitate. And it worked early on. But for some reason, Chris Paul is in OKC now. I'm not now. He and James Harden weren't best friends since they were 10 years old. But there's a reason everything, oh, it's so good. And then when you started hearing things and you started getting out in the media, oh, that's you guys making things up. But James Harden says, oh, I know what, after they lost, oh, I know what the problem is, and we'll get it resolved this summer. Chris Paul's in OKC now.
So I hate to break this to you so early in the show, but you just spit out a whole lot of words that you're going to have to eat.
Okay.
Because this is going to work. And even though they blew this game, a game they should have won last night at home against a really good Milwaukee team, I really, really liked what I saw from the Houston Rockets last night. So I predicted to you a few days ago before the season started that these Rockets would make it to the conference finals and lose to the Clippers. And I like that prediction even more this morning because I believe that James Harden and Russell Westbrook will be a much better fit and a much more dynamic duo than James Harden and Chris Paul ever dreamed of being last year when, by the way, they did win 53 games last year.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good, right? Yeah. You said this year's LA Lakers will win 56. I say Houston has a whole lot better shot at winning 56 games than your Lakers do. And I realize that these two had an early game animated discussion over near the huddle.
Table.
Yeah. And what was happening was they were going back and forth about strategizing about how to beat the extremely unique defense that Milwaukee always plays, started last year, on James Harden. What does Milwaukee do? The primary defender stands sideways to his ball-dominant left side and faces him, it was Wesley Matthews much of the time last night, and forces him, funnels him into all those long defenders in the lane, walling him off. So it worked last year because James he scored pretty well against them in the 2 games last year, but he shot only 39% from the field, which will not win a lot of games when you're shooting as much as James does, right? So I'm going to remind you, Milwaukee was #1 last year in the NBA in defensive efficiency. And I'm going to remind you that they did numbers on all the best scorers in the league a year ago. So is it not possible that that was as difficult an opening night fire test for the two new duo together with the two new guys together? Can you think of a worst case scenario for James Harden trying to figure it out with Russell Westbrook at home on national TV than the Milwaukee Bucks?
What? He gonna have his work cut out against the Clippers.
Okay, well, now he would.
Yes.
But again, from last year, this is a team that stayed together. Did they switch it up? Did they have new guys?
No.
Again, obviously the Clippers have 2 new guys, but they have a lot of old guys who are hard-nosed. But this team is together. All of its strategies, they're tried and true from last year. Yet, despite that animated early discussion, what happened, Mr. Sharp? The Houston Rockets were in complete control of this game all the way until mid-third quarter. Alex said they led at half, but they also led by 16 midway through the third quarter. And then what happened? James Harden did not happen. I don't know what got into him. He decided, well, I don't really feel it tonight. But I also think that off his 40 and 44-point games to end the preseason, he said, you know what, tonight I'm going to show everybody I'm with Russ here. I'm going to facilitate a little more than I usually do. I'm going to defer to Russ because he seems to be playing with extreme energy and passion tonight. Maybe I should back off. And they both said before the year started that if one guy has it going, the other guy's just going to sit back and enjoy the show. Both of them said that. Same quote from both of them. I buy that.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that.
Well, that's good. That's how it normally works for any team.
Okay, all right, but those two, I think, can figure it out because I do think there's a much deeper bond between James and Russ, going back to 10 years old in Southern California playing AAU ball or Little League ball against each other, James Harden. And that just disintegrated by the end of the year, even though they were still successful. And I agree with your point. One guy was a true, pure point guard, and James was point shooter. So again, and these guys don't fit that way, except I'm going to get to why they really fit. But what happened from that